Boom goes the dynamite. It's time for another episode of Filmcast Without a Cause. And it's a special episode, Pat.
Why would that be, Jacob?
I realized I didn't introduce you, so I had to say your name there. But we're reviewing two of the final blockbusters of the year. And we're going to have a special guest who may or may not have been ever known as the Muscles from Brussels. Anyway, it's going to be an action-packed show. There's lots of show. We need to get right into it. Unfortunately, we have to kick off our news highlights with tragic news. The day we recorded this, it was reported that Tony Scott, famous director, died at the age of 68, and I don't want to get into the details surrounding his death. It's all over the news, and you can probably find that information elsewhere. Instead, I thought we should take time, some of our show time, to talk about Scott as a director. Are you a fan of Tony Scott at all?
There's a few films of his that I'm a fan of. I'm a big fan of his brother, obviously. Ridley Scott. Alien is one of my top 3 favorite movies ever. But Tony Scott, he's got a handful of work, especially in this last decade. That's something that you could be proud of, I'd say. Like, I enjoyed Unstoppable. I mean, it's nothing that I would put at like the top of the mountain, but that was good. Man on Fire was good. Deja Vu was okay. I Own Spy Game. That was kind of boring, but it was all right. I know there are fans of Enemy of the State. That was in the 90s, but he's got a lot of action films that are kind of forgettable, but Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, while it was a remake, I enjoyed it. Are you a fan of his work, or would you say it stands out?
Yeah, and since we're listing off his filmography, I do want to say that Top Gun is probably his most famous film, and he also did Crimson Tide and Days of Thunder. He is often in the shadow of his brother, and he's hardly ever mentioned without mentioning his brother. And where I think Ridley Scott tried to make more serious films and tried to make some important films, even though he's primarily an action director, I don't think Tony Scott as a director was ever really interested in making great films. He just wanted to make exciting films. And even though he was very hit and miss as a director, he was crazy. He was always experimenting with the visuals of his film. And he was willing to try anything, mix film stocks, overexpose the picture, do some crazy color temperatures, hundreds of cuts, to the point where a film like Domino, not a very good film, quite bad film actually, it's still interesting to watch because he was always daring. And if I had to pick one of his films, True Romance has a Tarantino script, and it's very entertaining. I've only seen it once, and my roommate would kill me if I admitted I've still not seen Crimson Tide. But I really liked Unstoppable, and I do think Deja Vu is actually an underrated sci-fi film. I think he might have still had a really good film in him, so it's really sad news for the film world, obviously. Transitioning to a topic that's a bit more fun, I want to talk about a little movie that could, Sleepwalk with Me, which has gotten quite a bit of press lately for its grassroots campaign. Have you seen the trailer? Do you know anything about this film, Pat?
I really do not. I've seen a little bit of it's popping up here and there. Is it give us the details, Jacob?
Yeah, I'll give you the details. What I know, and I have seen the trailer. It's based off of a one-man show by writer Mike Birbiglia, and it was also turned into a This American Life segment. And This American Life is kind of producing the film, and Ira Glass, that show's host, is a producer on it. And it's about Mike Birbiglia, who is a stand-up comedian, starting his stand-up career and also sleepwalking a lot. And it looks like a very charming film. And it premiered at Sundance. IFC picked it up for distribution and was going to open it up in 34 theaters, which IFC, a small company, that's about the best they could do. But This American Life has a huge fan base. Through a grassroots campaign, they had the fans of the show tweet, write, and request that their local movie theater bring Sleepwalk with Me to their town. And went from 34 theaters, they added 60 through this request campaign, and now there's 100 theaters that it's opening in. I've checked already, Pat. It won't come to Des Moines till around the end of September, and that's the same story with me in Greensboro.
What do you know about the film? Like, it sounds like it's a work of fiction or based on a true story of some sort. But I mean, is the reception been really good for this, or is it just the fact that Ira Glass has got a minion of fans that he could wield to bring this campaign to fruition?
I've heard that it's actually quite charming, and it's an autobiographical film. Birbiglia has a fan base too as a stand-up comedian. The trailer looks quite charming. It looks like a very small, modest film. It's got a good cast. Lauren Ambrose from 6 Feet Under's in it, and there's a lot of faces you'll see if you watch the trailer that you'll recognize. I don't know the actor's name, but he famously played the doctor in The Game, who was actually secretly an actor. I don't know if you've seen The Game.
Oh yes, of course I've seen it. It's David Fincher.
Yeah, he's a famous that guy. So
Yeah.
recently Joss Whedon put out a comical video, boycotting or calling for a boycott of Sleepwalk with Me because it was going to cause a threat to the Avengers' remaining theater count. And then Ira Glass and Mike Birbiglia posted a video about that too, and they break down the math of how much money the Avengers made, and we'll post that on our website if you haven't seen them. But even if the film is only modestly good, it's kind of exciting that it is a little film that could. It's going to get some more press the more this grassroots campaign works in its favor. I think it's something that we might see more of in the future, this idea that the audience can demand what movie gets into a theater. I've even heard of this company, I should have looked up its name, where they'll bring catalog titles, like older movies. If you get enough people to request it and buy a ticket and say, I would go to this movie if you were to bring it to your theater. Sorry to interrupt Jacob from the past. This is Jacob from the present, who is producing the show, here to remind you that the company you're trying to think of is Tug.com. That's Tug with 2Gs.com. I will try not to disrupt the space-time continuum again. Sorry. Bye. But speaking of movies returning to the big screen, they announced this week that Raiders, being Raiders of the Lost Ark, is coming to IMAX screens for 1 week starting September 7th. And it's been remastered, it's probably been remastered a few times, and with an enhanced stereo track. Pat, are you thinking of going to go see this movie on a big IMAX screen?
I would definitely, because I was far too young to see it when it initially came out in theaters, and I love the film. That film and the third film, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, I would love to see those on the big screen. And this is just something aside to note that on my flight back from my vacation, I read something in Fast Company that said that re-releases actually make a good deal of money just because of people like myself who were too young to see them and they want to see them in the theater. So I've seen a couple re-releases on IMAX, and it was, these films that weren't shot that way and end up being either a little blurry, especially animations, but I don't care. I will see it. Are you in the same ilk?
Yeah, I rushed out to see Ghostbusters when they released it last year around Halloween in theaters. And I wish I lived near an IMAX that actually had the 70 millimeter projector. I just have a digital IMAX near me. But yeah, I think I'll definitely take the opportunity to see Raiders on the big screen. And it got me thinking about other movies I would, rush out to go see on the big screen. One of those films being 2001: A Space Odyssey, a film I've never really loved. But people who love that film, who are older, will tell you, oh, you had to see it on the big screen. So I'm like, maybe if I saw it on the big screen, I would come to appreciate it. Is there anything you would rush out to see?
I'd probably go see Alien. As I mentioned, Ridley Scott's one of my favorite movies ever. And I would probably Blade Runner, another Ridley Scott movie, not to just go on it, but it's just another film that visually it's so big. I think anything that's visually big, is like, wow, wouldn't you just love to see this on the biggest screen possible?
Alien, I do think, had a theatrical re-release a few years ago, but unfortunately it was that director's cut where the alien does that stupid walk and scurries away.
Yeah, it was 2003 or 4, and it was not anywhere near Des Moines, so I did not get a chance to get to it.
But speaking of movies on a big screen, we'll be back with our featured conversation of the week when we review The Bourne Legacy.
Jason Bourne was the tip of the iceberg.
It's Aaron Cross. We have never seen evaluations like this. He's Treadstone without the inconsistency.
The franchise that began with 2002's Bourne Identity continues without its leading man in The Bourne Legacy. Jeremy Renner is now the spy on the run, not as Matt Damon's Jason Bourne though, but as a new character, Aaron Cross, who is also on the run from the shadowy government agency that once employed him.
You were given a Ferrari, and your people treated it like a lawnmower.
You're asking me to wipe the most valuable assets we've ever put in the field.
You're going to start to consider the magnitude of what we were facing if this moves sideways on us?
It would have seemed like 2007's Bourne Ultimatum wrapped up the story of amnesiac super spy Jason Bourne into a fine film trilogy. But even though that film's star and director decided to move on, the studio, Universal, did not want the successful series to die, so instead of rebooting or recasting, we have a new character on a new mission. Pat, I know you're a big fan of the series. Did Universal make the right decision in keeping this franchise alive? And are you interested in more Bourneless Bourne movies?
I am 100% on board with more Bourneless Bourne movies, and I would say right now that this has been my favorite film experience of the year. It was intense
Really?
the whole way through. Oh, maybe not the whole way through, but I was definitely riding this thing pretty hard. I would say keep it alive. What are your initial thoughts?
Oh, I I wasn't expecting such a positive. I was expecting, because on the show so far we've been kind of agreeing with mostly everything.
Well, bring it on,
So I'm
Jacob.
glad-
Let's get into it.
But I don't think it's going to be disappointing now, because I don't think it's a bad movie. I just did not respond to it very positively, especially the first hour of this movie, where it's
very explanatory, a lot of exposition and setting up this new thing.
Exactly, but they're still always talking about Jason Bourne, and there are scenes that are so redundant that are always talking about the same thing about how we need to stop this agency and we need to get Jason Bourne. It's needlessly complex, and that's one of the charms of the Bourne series, is that they're more complex than your typical action film. But this film teeter-tottered between having not any exposition to having info dumps, where all of a sudden the character would just talk and talk and talk about I need the chems, or whatever the MacGuffin, what the motivations for this Alan Cross, and I'm going to call him Alex Cross, it's just inevitable, which is the Morgan Freeman character from Kiss the Girls, who's getting rebooted himself. But the Aaron Cross character, for the longest time, I think it takes a long time for us to finally learn what Aaron Cross's motivations are. And when we do, the film finally picks up and we get some cool action sequences. But before that, it's really hard to tell what the film is about. We have these scenes in Alaska where he doesn't even know why he's there. And then we have so many villains, and it's so hard to keep track of what the hierarchy of the villains are. We don't know if Ed Norton's Albert Finney's boss, if where David Strayhorn fits in there. This is a franchise that has had Brian Cox, Albert Finney, and now Stacy Keach, three actors who look almost exactly alike, all playing basically the same character.
Well, I think we're relying too much on what the second and third Bourne movies set up, and their brilliant display of high-paced super spydom, and they really relied on the crutch of he's got amnesia, so we can't know what he doesn't know. And in this film, this character doesn't have amnesia. He's looking for drugs to keep him alive. And I'm okay with it. It almost, to me, coming out of it, when I had the same conversation with my dad, and I was saying that it was almost like a little heavy-handed of a Jack Ryan film. Like, obviously, The Hunt for Red October has pretty much no action in it until the very end. But the idea that there's all this stuff going on and you cannot follow what they're talking about, and maybe they're talking too much. But I think the general consensus is who cares who the hierarchy of these people are? I mean, obviously, when Edward Norton shows up, it's like Edward Norton's above these two older guys, and they kind of let the Ezra character fall by the wayside, and they keep bouncing back to Jason Bourne. But I think the whole idea is that this is what people think of when they think of the government is there's all these different agencies that hate each other in the military industrial complex or whatever, and they all are stepping on each other's toes, and it's obviously a way to set up things that nobody knows about and a way to set the franchise in the future. But I was okay with that. I was kind of like, they're not going to tell us what the story is with Aaron Cross for a while, so I would say that it was okay.
Yeah, and when we do find out what his story is, I actually liked that quite a bit. It reminded me of I don't want to give it away, it reminded me of a certain young adult novel that I read and really liked. I'm being really vague, but when we find out his motivations, they're clear, and it got me excited for the movie. But I think that's an hour in, or it's too late in. I know why they have to call this the Bourne Legacy. It's because that's how you get us into the theaters, by saying this is a part of that franchise you liked. But I would really rather have them stop talking about Jason Bourne and just start talking about Aaron Cross, or
well, the problem with the government in this film is they can't talk about specifically Aaron Cross, because he doesn't even end up being the man fighting against his fighting for his life or whatever against his superiors until he has to. It's not like Jason Bourne where you follow him because he's the main character. Obviously Jeremy Renner is going to be the main character. It's set up that way, but his superiors and everyone that you just listed earlier, they don't know anything about him other than the fact that he is an agent of the outcome prospect. So I kind of like the idea of, well, wouldn't it make sense that, Blackbriar and Treadstone are not the only two things that are going on? And how would the government react, or these clandestine agencies react if they found out that, oh man, everything's going to hit the fan. We better, shred all the documents we have.
I just think it's the Bourne connections that hold the film back a little bit.
Well, obviously they're writing this movie as a sequel, and like a full-blooded, you need to see the movie before it to understand half of the story arc. Otherwise, you don't know why they're burning all this stuff. There's certain things that you have to carry over from the other movies, and I'm on board with that. But I think it's because I am such a fan of the third film particularly.
I'm only coming off as that I didn't like the film because you obviously liked it so much more than me, and I resent that because I'm supposed to be the optimist and you're supposed to be the pessimist. The film does a few things right. I think when action does happen, it is very exciting and it's well shot. I think I applaud Tony Gilroy, who directed this one, which I didn't mention that, took over from director Paul Greengrass. Doesn't try to adopt Greengrass's handheld style too much.
There were some parts in the beginning where they did it, and I was like, okay, this is unnecessary and obviously stealing someone else's style, but it worked out.
And Tony Gilroy wrote the other three movies. Do you think this film ended, without talking about the ending specifically, do you think it ended in a strong place, or do you think it ended where it needed to ensure another sequel?
It definitely ended in a place where it will ensure another sequel, because obviously there's major chases in this movie, and it just seemed like it was like, okay, we're at the end. That was good enough.
Hope in the next movie they can just move it on to be the Aaron Cross show. I think Renner does a good job. I liked Norton. I liked Rachel Weisz. The Bourne Legacy is rated PG-13 for violence and action sequences. Pat recommends it more than I do, but if you're a fan of the others, I would say you should go. And we're back, and there's still plenty of show ahead, including our very special guest. But before we get to him, let's do what we do at this time and talk about what's new on DVD. And there's lots of good stuff this past week, I think. This past Saturday, August 18th, The Hunger Games came out, which I liked quite a bit. I believe you didn't check that out, right?
I have not seen it, and I was going to ask you, since it was on this list, to someone who doesn't have a wife who's caught up in it, hasn't read the books, and didn't really know if they should see it. Would you say I should rent it and watch it?
I would. I think it's a very fun movie as those things go. Fun as much as a kids killing kids can be, but I really enjoyed it, and my wife was really into it, so she liked it a lot more than me. But as someone who didn't read the books and knew very little about it going in, I really enjoyed it. So I would definitely say that's worth a Redbox rental at least. And Tuesday, or this past Tuesday, August 21st, a lot of stuff I'll be going to Redbox to check out. Bernie,
definitely. I am on top of that. Bernie, the dictator, for probably. I end up seeing everything that he does. The Separation, which was the Iranian hit about the possible divorced family, and The Weekend. Oh yeah, those are some films to see. I don't really know if I know anything about Chimpanzee though.
Oh, that's a nature film from Disney Nature. So it's supposedly pretty good if you like chimps, but I did see The Dictator, and I can't quite recommend it. But if you're like me and check out everything Sacha Baron Cohen does, a DVD, you could do worse than a rental and get some friends, so it's less awkward of you and your wife watching it, because there's some of that typical Sacha Baron Cohen humor. And now is the time everyone's been waiting for. We've joked that we have a special guest, and that's true, but it is not either Jean-Claude Van Damme or Steven Seagal, as we joked. It is in fact someone that I used to know, someone that Pat still knows. I'm kidding, AJ. I still know you.
Am I supposed to hang up on that, or?
Please don't.
He's been crying in the corner this whole time, waiting for us to let him play.
Yes, please let me play. Please. I'm ready.
We brought him on. AJ Hodgman, someone we reviewed films with at our previous positions.
He's a man who's a fan of giant explosions. And especially one major character in this film, Bruce Willis, is his favorite actor.
Can't get enough of that Bruce Willis guy. Thank you both, gentlemen, for having me on to the podcast. I appreciate it. It's been a while since I've talked some films, so I'm excited.
You can't let the contents of that safe fall into the wrong hands. What's the plan?
Track him, find him, kill him.
A team of mercenaries consisting of some of the biggest action stars of yesteryear are on a mission of revenge in Expendables 2.
You
You'll need more men if you expect to get out here alive.
I'm back.
Just as the summer movie season began with the superhero team-up of the Avengers, it ends with a completely different breed of action movie heroes with the Expendables sequel. All of the Expendables from the first movie are back, suggesting that they maybe aren't all that expendable in the first place. New faces like Chuck Norris and Jean-Claude Van Damme join the cast as well. AJ, you and I reviewed the first Expendables movie somewhat positively a couple of years ago, and we brought you to FWOAC because you expressed a certain amount of excitement for the sequel. Did it live up to your expectations?
Oh, that's you know what, Jacob? I'm gonna say that it did not live up to my expectations. I was kind of disappointed with Expendables 2, the second effort.
Really? And I'm gonna get this out in the beginning. Pat, you did not see the Expendables 2. You failed in your FWOAC duties.
I was on vacation. A little spoiler, my birthday was on this past Sunday, turned 30, and I could not get my family, imagine that, my whole family, to go see the Expendables sequel.
I can't imagine why they wouldn't want to go see this movie.
I don't know. You know, we're all fans of Arnold Schwarzenegger. We actually watched a good chunk of the Schwarzenegger Batman film. So no one wanted to see the Expendables after that little taste. So I'm sorry. I'll just be the guy saying, was that explosion super huge or mega huge? And I'll let you guys talk.
So you would actually go out and say, AJ, that the first Expendables is a better movie than the Expendables 2?
Just your tone suggests that you are going to disagree with me on this, Jacob. But for me, you know what? Here's the deal. Here's what I think about Expendables 2. I think that maybe because the fact that let's go back to the first one. The first one is kind of really serious and not really in on the joke. And I remember you saying that maybe that was the kind of flaw to that one, that it wasn't in on the joke. Where I thought I liked that it wasn't in on the joke, and where Expendables 2 is kind of in on the joke, and I'm not necessarily sure I'm a fan of that. It was almost too much.
You didn't like the joke?
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. All those one-liners and just. I don't know. It was just a lot more than the first one, I thought.
Well, you hit on it. I'm glad you recall what my opinions were of the first one. I did think it was too serious, and I rewatched it before going to the second one.
Oh, see, I didn't rewatch it before.
Yeah, and it's not, and I came off a lot more negative on a rewatch than I did originally. I think on that original review, I was reviewing the film I wanted to see with these characters, with Stallone and Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis all in the same scene, even though they only had one scene in the first one. And this is a minor spoiler to say that they have more than one scene in the sequel. But I think
which I liked, which I did like.
Yeah, so I think
Schwarzenegger, maybe not so much, but Willis definitely. More Willis.
Oh, come on. But I think this film finally delivers on the promise of the first because it is much more winking. It is much more fun. There are really cheesy one-liners. And maybe not quite enough exploding heads, but quite a few exploding heads.
Yeah, yep. And, the one addition to the cast that I really did like was Liam Hemsworth. I thought he did bring a lot to this group of overgrown brutes.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the new members of the cast. Liam Hemsworth, I think he's can't talk too much about his role in there because it is what it is. It is kind of a way to bring the fans of the last song in to see an Expendables movie.
Yeah, very true, very true.
But they also added a female character, a non-you, who...
Yeah, that's right.
I think that relationship isn't realistic, but it's realistic in the term... the relationship this female has with Sylvester Stallone is realistic in the sense of how action movie romances work, how the two people hate each other and then grow to like each other. And also it has Chuck Norris joining the cast.
Now, can I just say this about Chuck Norris and his addition? As much as I was excited about seeing Chuck Norris and having Walker, Texas Ranger be in this epic action movie, I didn't think he really fit in at all.
He is, well, here's the problem with all they're glorified cameos, Chuck Norris, Schwarzenegger, and Willis, even though Schwarzenegger and Willis are given more to do in this movie, and it's very much enjoyable for a Schwarzenegger fan like me, is they're glorified, they're cameos. And every time the cameo would come, it would be a deus ex machina in the film. They would come out of nowhere and rescue the Expendables from a situation where they were trapped otherwise.
Well, can I put in a second just to ask you gentlemen this? In the first movie, when it ends, I almost got the feeling that they thought Bruce Willis set them up. Like they were getting sent down to this island, and the second movie was going to be all about trying to find Bruce Willis and kill him. I mean, and then seeing the trailers for the Expendables 2, I had no idea what the plot was. Is there a plot in this film? And without spoiling it, can you tell me at all what it is?
All I will say is that Willis leverages how they screwed up the first job into getting them to do another job. And that job, and that kind of snowballs into becoming a personal vendetta for one of the characters. And the villain in this, this is another reason I think this film is, because I think The Expendables is just a bad film, and I think Expendables 2 is a good bad film.
Okay. I was just getting ready to ask you what would you actually classify it as? Was it a good movie, bad? But you
it's a good bad film.
I like that.
Because when guns are going off, it's lots of fun. But when they're like just bromancing or sitting around, it's almost as bad as the first one. When they're just joking with each other. I think the first 10 minutes is some of the most fun I've had in the movie theater. And I think some of the last 20 minutes, when it becomes a big shootout with every action star, not every action star I've ever remembered
I will
seeing,
say, I didn't really like Chuck Norris, but I did like the fact that every time you saw him, he was pretty much shooting from the hip.
Well, I'm a little interested in the concept of the first one being a bad movie, because I mean, it's kind of a good bad film in the fact that you can watch it. It's not bad as in like Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme, where it's just the most pointless, stupid, nonstop, gluttonous thing you've ever seen in your life. I mean, do you really think that it's just a straight up bad movie?
But when you can watch Street Fighter, and make fun of it. And I think this film, it's still not quite there of knowing and winking at the... I mean, it does some winking. It still is trying to be good. And that's a flaw. There's a lot better action in this. And if you're going to an Expendables movie just for the action, Jet Li actually gets to do some martial arts for however long he's in the movie.
And that was cool. I like seeing that. That was neat.
Yeah, and there's just I felt, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is a much more fun villain than Eric Roberts or
most
Stone
definitely.
Cold is.
I'm glad. Can we go back to talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme? I thought he was awesome. What a good way to bring him back into the action movie world.
Jean-Claude Van Damme caused the one serious moment I had in the film is I thought he was cool. And the villains, they're like in the first one, they're warlords or something. I can't even remember what they are. There's a bad CIA agent. It's all kind of complicated. Takes itself too seriously. Jean-Claude Van Damme is leader of this terrorist group that are also Satanists or something.
Yeah, that was what I loved how they introduced him.
That's just one of those bad movie touches that I think just makes it weird enough to enjoy. But there's a point, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is just kind of a quiet badass for the most part, and he's wearing sunglasses. But when he takes off the sunglasses, you see how puffy his eyes are and how old he is, and that just made me so sad. It kind of reminded me about my own mortality. And he gets this is another minor spoiler. He has a mano-a-mano fight with Sylvester Stallone. Which is pretty
badass to watch, I gotta say.
Yes, exactly. There were I can't think of a single moment in the first Expendables which was as fun on a nostalgia level as that. But that's the problem. It's fun on a nostalgia level, where it reminded me that we'll never see these two people fight in their prime because they're just past it.
But you know what? Jean-Claude Van Damme can still roundhouse kick.
That's true.
You got to give it to the guy.
Sometimes when I'm in a situation like this and I think, I'm on the fence, I look at a movie and I think 20, 25 years down the line when no one's caught up in the hype of, oh my gosh, these guys are finally going to be in a movie together. I like to think, what is my opinion or thought of this is it going to stand on its own when no one cares at all that it's, these guys are in this film? Is that going to be something that's going to make you want to watch it, or anybody going to watch it? Is it going to be relevant in, say, 25 years?
Probably not.
I don't think so. I really don't. Maybe maybe I might say maybe the first one, just for the fact that it was the first time those major three got together, but I don't think necessarily with the second one.
Yeah, I would say if you haven't seen either Expendables movie, but you want to see an old school action movie, skip the first one, see the second one. And the second one was a big enough hit that it's likely that there will be an Expendables 3.
And I heard they want Nicolas
course.
Cage.
The producer of the movie said he wants Nicolas Cage, Wesley Snipes, Harrison Ford, and Clint Eastwood for Expendables 3. I think he could probably get 2 of those.
Yeah, Harrison Ford, no way. Clint Eastwood, just laugh. He'd probably actually punch him in the face.
I think Wesley Snipes they could probably get because he's just going to come out of prison and he's going to need work.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage doesn't say no to anything. But I wanted to ask you two, who do you think would be a good Expendable? Who would you like to see this to join this franchise? Because that's why the franchise is fun. They keep getting new faces from new old faces, I guess.
Oh, I've got one definitely in mind that I'm kind of really rooting for as the villain in the next one.
Bring it on.
Who is it?
It's going to be I'm going to have to be Steven Seagal. That's who they need right there. Steven Seagal, get him off the sheriff's force, get him back on the big screen.
The problem with that pick is that Steven Seagal is in Machete, a film that is of this, vein, but completely in the know about what it is. So I don't know if he'd be, well, he might do it just because he wants to work and be relevant, but I don't think I don't know if it's a smart move.
I can't imagine they didn't think of approaching Steven Seagal.
Do you think he said no if they have already asked him?
I don't know. I know of one person who turned it down, and that was Kurt Russell, because he said he doesn't do ensemble films. But he would be my pick. I mean, I would love to see Kurt Russell.
Yeah, that would be a good call.
Well, my pick is I'd like to go somebody gritty and with acting gravitas, like almost in the Clint Eastwood vein. I would say James Caan is just like he is completely off the map, but he would just be like similar to in the first film. Help me out. Who was it? Mickey Rourke. James Caan in the third film would just be like the ultimate bad guy, the guy with the suit who's making all the calls behind the scenes.
Wasn't James Caan the bad guy in Speed?
No, that was Dennis Hopper.
Oh, Dennis Hopper. I'm sorry. Was James Caan in Speed?
No.
He was in The Godfather, though.
Wasn't he a bad guy in a Schwarzenegger movie? Come on, help me out here.
I'm sure James Caan was a bad guy in all sorts of things.
I think it was Eraser.
He probably is the villain in Eraser. It's been so long since I've seen it.
Sorry, obscure reference.
No, that's
the
all
only
right.
thing
That's
I remember
all right.
from Eraser is when he throws that guy to the alligator to get eaten.
Your luggage.
I think that's all anyone remembers from Eraser. That's all anyone remembers from Eraser.
He was in Eraser. Very good, AJ. Very good.
My pick is if they're gonna go for Ford and Eastwood, they might as well just go for the definitive action hero of cinema, and that they should just ask Sean Connery to make an appearance.
I thought that too.
Even though
I thought that too.
And Connery's retired, but think about the last film he made. It was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
no matter how bad an Expendables
Which, if I
3...
remember correctly, was not any good.
Yeah, no matter how bad an Expendables 3 would be, it would have to be a step up from that. But I have to say, the Expendables 2 is rated R for strong, bloody violence throughout. There are a lot of exploding heads in the film. But before we let you go, AJ, we like to have some fun on the show, and since we have a second player, we can finally do a film quiz, and this is what I'm going to call my Expendable Action Quiz. The loser will get thrown to alligators. Now, which one of you two want to go first?
AJ, I'm the home team, so would you prefer to bat first, and then I'll clean up?
Yes, that's fine. I'll bat first.
Here we go. Sylvester Stallone has played action movie icons from Rambo to Cobra to whatever his Expendables character is named. He's also turned down quite a few iconic action roles in his time. Which of these roles did Stallone allegedly not turn down? Nick Nolte's role in 48 Hours, Bruce Willis's role in Die Hard, Michael Douglas's role in Romancing the Stone, or Eddie Murphy's role in Beverly Hills Cop?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to go with the one that I think is the most out there. I'm going to go with Eddie Murphy's role in Beverly Hills Cop.
No, it was Nick Nolte's role in 48 Hours, which he auditioned for.
I was going to go with Romancing the Stone. That was what I was going to say.
He actually co-wrote Beverly Hills Cop at one point, and then they wanted to take it in a comedic way, and so they fired him from the role, I believe.
Oh, Stallone was co-writing Beverly Hills Cop?
At one point. A couple more bits of trivia I'll throw it at you. I didn't include this one because it would have stood out like a sore thumb. But Stallone told Ain't It Cool News that he was up for Brad Pitt's role in Seven, and at one point the studio for Face Off wanted Stallone and Schwarzenegger in the Nicolas Cage and John Travolta roles. I don't know which one was which.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine Face Off with Stallone and Schwarzenegger?
I'd rather not. All right, Pat, which of these is a real direct-to-video movie starring Chuck Norris? The Hunt for Eagle 1, The Cutter, Hitman's Run, or Hunt to Kill?
Hitman's Run.
No, it was The Cutter, which was made
oh my gosh.
in 2005.
I was going to say the first one. I was going to go with the first one.
And that was his last movie until Expendables 2, was The Cutter in 2005.
Well, now I need to know the synopsis so I don't go download it blind.
I don't have the synopsis on me, but all the other ones I listed off were real direct-to-video movies.
Well, let me just make a quick note to self. Let me write it down. Go download The Cutter with... Okay, thank you.
Former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and Mike Huckabee supporter Chuck Norris are obviously members of the Republican Party. Which of these expendable stars is the Democrat? Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, Randy Couture, Eric Roberts, or Mickey Rourke?
I'm going to say Mickey Rourke.
Oh, no, it was Eric Roberts.
Man,
we're stinking it up.
I need to work on being able to tell my Democrats and Republicans.
So score is 0-0 at the moment. I made this quiz too tough. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay.
No one's going to get Jacob's voice on their voicemail machine at home.
I didn't offer that as a prize. I said whoever loses gets thrown to the alligator.
Oh,
remember?
So if we both lose, does that mean we both survive?
Far. Well, maybe you'll get a question right. There's still quite a few left.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Pat, it's your turn. Jason Statham is well trained in mixed martial arts and kickboxing, but what other sport is Statham experienced in? Water polo, soccer, or as they call it, football, diving, rugby, or death racing?
Rugby.
He was a diver.
Oh, that was the pick.
Wow.
Oh man.
He spent 12 years on the British national diving team. In 1992, he was the 12th in the world. AJ, Jean-Claude Van Damme,
Yes.
we talked about how much we liked him in The Expendables 2. He's so talented, in fact, that one role is hardly ever enough in his movies. Jean-Claude Van Damme has had a dual role in 5 movies. Which of these is not one? Double Impact, where he plays 2 twin brothers that were separated at birth. Time Cop, where he plays the past version of his character. Maximum Risk, where he plays his character's dead brother. Dual Assault, where he plays a villain whose face has been reconstructed to look like the hero he fights later. Or The Order, where he plays his character's ancestor.
I'm going to say The Order.
It was Dual Assault, a movie...
Dang it, that was the one I wanted to say
That's a movie
first,
I made up.
You had me questioning.
I totally made that film up. AJ, I know Die Hard is one of your favorite movies, but Pat gets this question, I'm afraid. Which of these is not the title of Die Hard in another country?
Oh.
The title in Spain, Crystal Jungle. In Poland, The Glass Trap. In Japan, Reluctant Hero. Or the Serbian title, Die Manly.
The Glass Trap.
Oh, no. It was Reluctant Hero was the made-up one.
Oh.
In fact, that Polish
Reluctant
title...
Hero. Those were all actual Die Hard titles, huh?
That Polish title, actually, Glass Trap, obviously refers to the building. And because the actual title Die Hard in Polish would translate to It is hard to kill him, or he dies slowly. But it's funny because they kept using the Glass Trap title for the Die Hard sequels, even though they had nothing to do with the building. So Die Hard 2 is called the Glass Trap 2 Trap Harder.
Jacob, let's cut to the chase here. Give us one for all the marbles. AJ will give you an answer and I'll give you one. You'll tell us who's right.
In 2004, Steven Seagal released his first musical album. What was it called? Mojo Priest?
Oh, man.
Beneath the Raven Moon? Wolf Howl? Songs from the Crystal Cave? Or The Path Beyond Thought?
Songs from the Crystal Cave.
That is the actual title, I think. I think I know that one.
Yes, you both get it right. You both don't. It's a tie.
Oh, yes. I knew that one, too.
And we don't get to, I don't get to feed either of you to the alligator.
Does that mean we get to feed you to the alligators? We overthrow the puppet master?
No, I'm afraid not.
We
but
both live.
Maybe. But it's time to say goodbye to AJ. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
I'm going to play you off with some songs from The Crystal Cave. And before we wrap up the show, I understand we have an award-winning filmmaker on the FWOAC staff. Pat?
Well, we have two, actually, because maybe the audience doesn't know this, but Jacob himself has won a handful of awards for his documentary work. But now I can pop my collar as well and, puff out my chest and walk around like the cock of the walk because, well, I don't know about that. But, our 48-hour film Trigger Words from Team Tiny Explosion took home an audience award and a runner-up for Best Use of Character award. I don't know exactly how they do the awards for, the Best of City and all that stuff. But I was very proud of our audience pickup because that was voted on by people who actually saw the film, and we did not pack the screening. So it was legitimate laughter all around, really good time. I hear at the Best of City screening which I was not in town for, that it went over really well as well. So I'm really proud of the team, and we pulled it off. And I wish you would have been here, Jacob, but your notes through email helped quite a bit.
Pshaw. I'm glad you gave me a special thanks, though. That warmed my heart. I heartily endorse watching Trigger Words on... Where can people watch that, Pat? Is it going to be on our website, too?
I will post it on our on this blog post, but Tiny Explosions was the name of the team, and if you want to like us and see what happens in the future, that's on Facebook. Just search Tiny Explosions. Otherwise, you can watch Trigger Words on this episode of FWOAC. So check out filmcastwithoutacause.com.
Yes, and there's a bunch of other stuff. Next week, we're going to wrap up the summer with what I've dubbed the Golden ACs, which is kind of
I love that name, by the way.
Which is kind of our appreciation for all the dumb summer movies we watched this summer. And we got some great feedback. Someone pretty much did all the work for us and gave us all the candidates and categories. I need to give Percy a shout out. But we don't want it to be the job of one man. So there's still time to get onto the website and talk about what summer movie you thought was the best, and also give us some crazy categories for our award show.
We'll list as many as we can. It's not like, we have much going on late at night when we record this. So we'll see what happens. Give us your feedback. And if you're looking to give us feedback, there are several ways to do it. You can go to filmcastwithoutacause.com, where we post these blog posts, and you can download them straight from there. Or you can leave us a comment on through an email, which is filmcastwoac@gmail.com, or our Twitter account, which is at FilmcastWOAC. So FilmcastWOAC@gmail and FilmcastWOAC on Twitter. That's how you reach us.
And next week on the show, besides the Golden ACs, let's do Premium Rush. I want to see that.
Totally. Bike Messengers, love them. Got to have it. And it happens to have somebody that you kind of like as an actor, just a little bit.
Yeah, I still have my man crush of Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Also coming out, Hit and Run, which looks god-awful.
Way to judge a book by its cover, Jacob.
That trailer. Oh, God. Okay. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe we should review that.
Oh, no. Let's just stick with our original plan.
So tune in next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until then, I'm Jacob.
And I'm Patrick.
Bye-bye.
I don't think anyone's gonna tell us when to leave.
Yeah, good call, Garth. I'll bet we're just gonna sit here, and when they're finished, they'll fade to black.
I can't believe they did that.
I told ya.